The organisation committee of Kasparov's World Championship semi-final match in London against the Soviet defector Viktor Korchnoi. It was October 1983. Kasparov was 19 years old, and already the most stellar body in the chess firmament. The body then liked to wear black leather jackets, and thus attired, it burst into our little committee room in the appropriately named Great Eastern Hotel. Its owner ranted away in Russian. It was angry about some details of the match arrangements. That much could be gleaned from the desperately diplomatic translations of its interpreter and minder, an elegant woman called Valentina Fomenich, whom the Daily Mail subsequently described as a colonel in the KGB. This was, after all, 1983. Colonel Fomenich could not keep up with the eruption of words from her young charge. Kasparov has always found anger a great spur to verbosity, so I just sat and stared. I think everyone in that room would have noticed two things about this strange young man. First, he did not look like a young man. Even then, his frizzy black hair had the metallic tinge of the prematurely grey. Second, he possessed an energy to which the word demonic scarcely does justice. It seemed as though he did not sit in his chair, but somehow was hovering about 2 inches above it, like a human hummingbird. I instantly connected these two first impressions and concluded that the man would burn out within a few years, like a star imploding under the stress of its own energy. I felt even surer of this when Colonel Fomenich, with a candour which belied her supposed profession, later told me that Kasparov was frequently woken up at night by sudden heart palpitations, suffered from rheumatic carditis, and had to have injections for the condition. Subsequent events, of course, cast doubt on my theories and Colonel Fomenich's diagnosis. That month, Kasparov famously went on to beat the durable Korchnoi, and then, 2 years later, the world champion himself, Anatoly Karpov. Less well remembered is that Nigel Short was playing on the same bill as Kasparov-Korchnoi. It seemed a good idea at the time. Short had just returned from a sensational victory in a Grandmaster tournament in Kasparov's hometown of Baku, and we, the organisers, had arranged a match between Short and the US junior champion Joel Benjamin. A few hours after my encounter with Kasparov, I bumped into the 17-year-old Short as he eloped — Nigel has always eloped — through the dusty corridors of the Great Eastern Hotel. He muttered something about not having a room for the night, though not in a tone of voice which suggested that he cared very much one way or the other. I gave him the room allotted to me as a member of the organising committee. As a resident Londoner, I hardly needed it. There could not have been a much greater contrast between Kasparov's hysterics over some minor point of organisational detail and Nigel's blithe unconcern about sleeping rough. Unfortunately, there could also not have been a greater contrast between their chessboard performances in London in October 1983, while Kasparov showed astonishing maturity in his dissection of the weak points in Korchnoi's game. Short lost horribly to a player he should have trounced. Perhaps there was something to be said for Kasparov's neurotic perfectionism. At the end of the event, while Kasparov was firmly grabbed by his ever-present and even more neurotic mother Clara, Short was loping around in the company of a dreamy-eyed blonde woman, rumoured to be one of Denmark's most promising young players of her sex. Perhaps there was something to be said for the 17-year-old Nigel's unneurotic unperfectionism too. In recent years, Short has stigmatised his teens as a period when he hardly worked on his chess at all. He is painfully aware that Kasparov's intensive and unremitting training in the Soviet school, notably under the tutelage of the first Soviet world champion, Mikhail Botvinnik, has given him a lead in chess knowledge that Short, however talented, can never recover. In chess, as in politics, knowledge is power. It was, however, understandable that the young Short should have thought that his talent and determination, once at the board, would be enough. At 3, he was able to solve 6 jigsaw puzzles simultaneously. At 8, he beat Korchnoi in an exhibition game. At 12, he qualified for the British Chess Championship, where he beat the 10-times British chess champion Dr. Jonathan Penrose, after cockily turning down the great doctor's magnanimous offer of a draw. At 17, he became the world's youngest Grandmaster.